So, in my second conversation with Kai Crayford, who is the founder and CEO of Austin Werner, who are a leading headhunting firm based out in Dubai, we go into all aspects of Web3, cryptocurrency, Fintech, and SaaS, and how the market is changing and the impact of this new environment. We touch on a variety of different subjects, and if you are a leader, if you are a go-to-market specialist, or you are just curious about how to build businesses in these complex markets, then this is for you. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everybody. It is Reggie here again at Perspectives, and I am joined once more by the wonderful Kai Crayford, who is the founder and CEO of one of the leading headhunting firms in the Web3 and blockchain and tech space, Austin Werner, based out in Dubai. And this is a part two. We had a wonderful session. If you haven't checked it out, please do, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, where we went into Kai's journey, how the talent landscape has changed, how it's evolved, especially in the crypto and Web3 space. I mean, things have really changed since we last spoke, and we'll touch on some of those, and really what it means to build high-performing teams in this kind of emerging tech area, as well as in traditional techs. But this session, we're going to be moving up a gear. We're going to be talking about some of the real world challenges, if I can use that term, and what it means to companies in the crypto, blockchain, and fintech space, and how you sell into markets, how it's all evolving. Without further ado, Kai, hello, welcome. How the devil are you, sir?
Hi, Reggie. Yeah, very good. Very good. It's getting very hot in Dubai, 42 degrees. So
I can
spending a lot of time
imagine.
inside at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But what is the temperature out there, out of interest? Just give
Yeah, so
people a feel.
apparently it's unusually hot for this time of year. It's 42 degrees. So
T2, goodness me.
kids are off school today as well because there's high winds. So apparently that does something which stops them going into school. Locals, the people that we've sort of met, said that it's unusually hot this time of year.
Amazing.
It obviously ramps up, I think, but
Indeed.
yeah, we're coping now. It's fine.
Excellent stuff. Well, it's good to know that you're acclimatizing. Just a quick weather report from Guildford. It's been a bit chilly, but it's getting warmer. We did have some lovely sunshine, but a huge amount of rain, like a month's worth in half a day on Friday. And that typically bank holiday over here was a bit of a washout. So not a washout as such, but a bit grey and everything else like that. So a bit of a weather update there. But since we last spoke, a lot has been going on. And we had a quick chat before this, and there was a massive crypto event happening in Dubai. Can you touch on that a little bit? Tell us a bit more about what that was and how that went down.
Yeah, it happens every year. Token 2049. Token 2049 is a generalist sort of crypto conference, not specific to one particular blockchain. So as you know, there's several different blockchains, different ecosystems they call them. Token 2049 basically it looks at the market holistically, and pushes information, product, experiences, all these things out. But yeah, it's a wild week, I would say.
Yeah. It's I saw a lot on X, formerly Twitter, about that. I mean, it was going crazy. All the feeds were just about all of that. I think a lot of it's also been slightly driven, or the positivity around it, by the new American administration and giving credibility to some of the tokens, some of the coins that were, viewed by the fiat currency market or traditional markets, who are probably looking over their shoulder a little bit, and giving it some legitimacy. Would you think that's something that's been happening as well? That's driving interest.
I think there's so much talent in America, and some of those projects have really had to be quite innovative in terms of their setup and approach to sort of digital assets. I think now, ultimately, whatever your political sort of sway is or views.
Mm.
I think it is certainly in that area, it's unlocked a huge amount of potential. Fundamentally, it's just kind of let it loose, and the government there have sort of said, right, we embrace this now, but we see it as something positive for the market, so go and build. So actually, yeah, a lot of energy is coming from the US, which is nice. I think a lot of their energy previously was still around building, but it's more around navigating the landscape, making sure that they're compliant, making sure they're not doing anything, you know, um, too outrageous. Ultimately, crypto is about innovation. The tech is really about being innovative and pushing and trying new things. And I think America actually stifled that for a bit. But now I think they are back sort of leading the way.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. I think the whole sort of the XRP SEC case that was going on, how that's sort of been, I wouldn't say kicked out, but there is definitely a big change happening. And as you rightly say, the stifling of innovation has been quite damaging. And I think people went over to South America and various other sort of regions to try and develop and build. I mean, it's certainly not going away, and it's sort of knee deep in so many things, especially blockchain technology. But crypto and cryptocurrency and tokens and coins are really here to stay. And I think that's for companies in that space that you obviously deal with. What are the innovations? What does a healthy crypto business look like compared to, I suppose, the hype cycles pre-pandemic and early pandemic sort of to one sort of era? Do you find them establishing and building their businesses like more traditional businesses, or are they still quite unique?
Yeah, there is a fundamental difference with what we see. And actually, I had a really good conversation with a few venture guys last week at Token 2049. The major difference is blockchain is ultimately it's a technology, and I think previously they saw this as a technology where you could release a token and you would create hype around something that fundamentally doesn't have any utility or use, but it has a lot of potential. And they would previously, gain huge amounts of investment through, initial coin offerings and things like this. But now, ultimately, it seems to me people are building businesses for the long run, and they see the way success needs to be created is by getting product market fit. So they need to create a product that people ultimately want to use. If people use it, then from off the back of that, they can create a token strategy and they can create a utility in a token. But the venture guys were actively saying that they are not looking at any projects that all they want to do is release the token as quickly as possible. They will only invest in projects that actually have a proper narrative, a story, a utility, this kind of thing. And I think that's where the difficulty comes at the moment, because I don't think funding is as easy as it was previously. I think you really have to give really good business case, push a really strong business case forward to get decent funding these days. We recruited for projects that got 400 million investment off the back of a white paper, just a single white paper.
Goodness me.
And that was 3 or 4 years ago. Whereas now, someone will go to market with an idea, with a concept. They would have needed to have built an MVP, needed to have something that you can touch and feel. And then the ask at the end of it might be 5 million, for example, which is a classic like pre-seed investment or early stage investment for any sort of tech startup. So yeah,
Absolutely.
things are definitely changing, and it's I personally think it's for the best because you get product that people actually want to use.
Yeah, I think it's what we were saying earlier. It's real world application of these, either for an organization or even at the retail investors or retail businesses. A lot of investors, retail investors, want to invest in new technology. It's very much like the AI hype cycle from a number of years ago, where if you had AI after your name, a bit like the old .com days of boom and bust, it took a while for the market to mature. But equally, if there is an application where people are using something or a company is using like AI agents, hypothetically, where there's value in that, then you can see investors sort of circling around and saying, oh, this is interesting compared to just getting into something on a hope and a prayer. So yeah, absolutely.
So
You
you even,
mentioned about,
Reggie,
sorry?
just quickly to go on that. You even see businesses now, tech businesses that build product outside of blockchain that now, once they've established a product, are now looking how to leverage blockchain in the future, which I think that's a new case. Usually you find someone that, right, we're going to create this DeFi protocol. It has to be on blockchain. It has to be on Solana. It has to do this, this, and this. Whereas actually companies are going, right, actually we can build without blockchain. We can establish a user, a group, a network, a community. And then in time, we can actually create more value by adding things like blockchain, tokens, utility into that product in the future. That's a shift as well, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can see that happening when people want that extra layer of, dare I say, security and authenticity. So it's like a belt and braces approach. And I can see a lot of companies going that way with encryption, with blockchain, adding that extra layer, especially in financial services. And that is something that's an area that we've been getting into a lot more here at Digital Clarity, talking to fintech businesses who sadly are badly serviced in terms of how they look at marketing, but they won't look at what we call go-to market, look at all of the aspects of their business, product, sales, marketing, the whole arena, and they're using some very dated techniques. They're trying to apply an old-fashioned model to a very new technology, and sort of spraying and praying, if you like, and it just ain't going to work. So we have a completely different view, very agnostic in terms of how we approach things. And so yeah, but it's an education piece for us, trying to educate the market in terms of bringing all our experience together and saying, listen, if you want sales, if you want to increase brand, and all of the other things, you've got to look at your business as a variety of different moving parts together. Because
How do you navigate the founder's eagerness to start and see and produce results? Because when you're saying that to me,
mm,
when you have to, dig into the business a little bit more, there has to be more of a intelligent focus around marketing and how it works rather than the spray and pray sort of mentality. That to me suggests that there's quite a time associated to that sort of discovery phase, and the sort of the implementation of the solution will take time. How do you navigate that? Because that's a difficult one, because I'm going through the same thing myself, right?
okay, okay.
We look at ways in which we can market, but I have an instinct. I was like, I want to do this quick. I want to do this fast. I want to get it to market. I want to have conversation, this kind of thing.
It's a very, very good question. And I think you can go fast. I mean, the simple answer to that is once you have the board on board, if I can use that term, then things can go, you can think bigger and scale smarter, but you can do it quite quickly if all the other pieces are aligned. And that's the biggest thing. It's most CEOs and founders get in their own way. They have a perception of where they want to take their business. And the biggest challenge is removing them or helping them understand that if they look at life this way rather than where they are, because they've got ingrained. There's three things normally. Number one is level of that worked 6 months ago, so let's carry on doing it. Not realizing that even 18 months ago, things have changed rapidly. The other aspect is wanting things too quickly, where if you were to lay the foundations between 3 to 6 months, in a year from now, you'll be gaining all the benefits. And as the old saying goes, in 9 months, you'll wish you started today. Actually laying all the all the foundational stuff. But number three is using some of the new technology, which is some of the things we apply. I think I touched on it last time. Is tools like Clay. We are, without putting too fine a point on it, we are, whether we like it or not, becoming go-to-market engineers using all these different AI stacks, which we use. We're building out our own proprietary system, but currently using a a variety of AI stacks. And that allows us to take a company, any organization of its size, create a fit for them fiscally that's going to work for them in their budget, and look at where they want to get to. And then we devise a game plan, a blueprint, bearing in mind we've worked over 1,500 projects over 2 decades and created hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue of companies of varying sizes. We bring all of that to the party and then deploy and use and work with some very, very talented people to deliver that. And we can really create hyper-focused messages at scale in the right way for that organization to start engagement, start conversations taking place, which is really the first point of contact that we're looking to generate. That's our kind of ROI, is a level of that, to have a diary full of potential customers who are looking for your product or service. But we can't do that without the building blocks of, you touched on product market fit on all aspects, whether you're a service business or a technology or a solution provider, how you portray, and this is the big one, is how do you portray your value in a, how do you communicate that to your prospect in a way that's seamless and frictionless, that they want to talk to you? And that's the area that we really work on. So we do a lot in the front end. That's where the money is, before where the money for them will come, and really where the investment comes. And then we build out an engine for you that's going to just start developing and growing. And that's what we do. So that's our approach, as opposed to, let's just run a load of ads on LinkedIn or on X, which invariably don't work.
Sounds like you're a tech business. Are you a tech business or a marketing business?
We're a hybrid. We're a hybrid where we have to embrace technology. We always have done. This will be, as I say, we're doing something proprietary, which I can talk about a little bit. These things take longer than people envisage, building something out. But this will be the third technology I'm building. I've built next 2 tech companies in the past. First one was listed on Cymex in Singapore, first.com. I'm showing my age, but yeah, that was on a junior exchange. And the second one was an ad tech business, Martech, if you like, that was sold to Rakuten in Japan. So that was an interesting one. They're like a soft bank for people who don't know them in Japan, and lots of different businesses.
Yeah, fascinating. And you're building that internally, are you?
Yeah, we've got a number of people doing it. We just recently hired a project manager to help us sort of shape that. It's a big task, but it's good in some ways, but it's very lean on others. But what we're trying to build is all the areas that I talked about, is to have a process so people can access that in a way. But again, it's a hybrid model where you'll have a human there with you, helping you devise certain things. Certain nuances can't be done by AI or an AI stack, because it's just so unique to that business. So you need to have somebody helping guide and fine tune and tweak that process. Otherwise it just becomes a mess. It's like people who offer writing content for specific industries using AI, and they'll produce 30 pieces of content, and it's just a bit of a mess. It's just spray and pray in a different way. And you're actually annoying people if you associate your name, put your brand on it. So you've got to be very careful.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We're actually in the process of building sort of an AI ML machine internally.
Mm.
Uh,
We should
currently,
have a chat
it,
after this. Yeah, swap some ideas.
it's very interesting. We're basically trying to automate a lot of the manual processes that take a while, but those manual processes actually make us as a business unique. So we're going to try and build something technically that will you know start producing revenue for us ultimately. And actually, I think you could pivot your business from a recruitment business to a product related business. So we're looking at ways we can do that. But the innovation of AI is it's been amazing. We tried to build this product about 7 years ago when we started the business. Tech was too clunky. It just wasn't the right time. But I think now is a good time to do it. In
Yeah,
fact,
absolutely.
um, But yeah,
That's
really
good. Yeah, it'd be good
excited
to learn
to.
more about what you're building out. Maybe come back and do another one of these and see how you're getting on with these. Because I think for a lot of founders sitting where you are and where I am, they know they want to do something. They don't always know where to begin. MVPs are only as good as or even talking to developers are only as good as what you ask them to do. And as having the ability, I was very lucky in my second technology where I had a technical leader, Seth Richardson, who could understand the pain points of what I was trying to achieve
Yeah,
and convey those in a technical way. A former engineer at Alta Vista, a great guy. And so people like that are few and far between. But then you come across products like Lovable. I don't know if you've come across Lovable. Definitely have a look at Lovable. It's a odd name for a very unique but wonderful product. It will literally build you all the code for what's in your head, and in certain cases, build out your actual app.
amazing.
And obviously, you're sharing your code and maybe your IP, but it's always a good. There's a number of places. I've been talking to a number of founders recently. One on a podcast a while ago, who's doing something around mental health and ADHD and dyslexia. A lot of children are diagnosed with that. Parents don't know what to get, and it's seems to be more and more everywhere you go. And certainly that sort of neurodivergent area should never be seen as a hindrance. So it's almost a superpower if you possess it. But it's just understanding, it's unlocking that for people and showing them how to actually do that, which is something that this guy's building out. So that's so I'm quite close to that project, and it's really exciting seeing how that's growing, how it went from an embryonic stage actually here in Guildford, where I got to talk to a load of HR directors, because that's a big challenge they have when they take people on. I got them into a meeting, oddly enough, run by a recruitment business here, where they run a forum just purely for HR directors, no selling, just literally sitting down, community that's been around for a number of years, and they just talk about the challenges of retaining talent, hiring talent, what the new world looks like, and the neurodivergent arena and the spectrum and where people are and this, that, and the other. How do you utilize that? And that was really, I managed to get my gig speaking at that, and it was one of the biggest talked about things.
That's fascinating. I was going to say I'm dyslexic, so I do treat it as a superpower, in fact, because as much as there's difficulties, what you tend to find with not everyone, but certainly me, you find solutions for the problems that you face. Looking back, the reason we started building this product actually is because I have a business coach called Nikki, and she was instrumental in like delving into our business, finding out how we do certain processes, this kind of thing. She sort of highlighted, she was like, "You're doing this. This is very unique. What you're doing in terms of going to market." And I was like, "Okay, is it?" I didn't really think about it like that. I thought it was just like normal. She was like, "Hi, I've never heard. I've coached a lot of people in recruitment. I've obviously built a recruitment business myself, but I've never heard of this approach. It's completely, uh, yeah, completely unique to you." Then that started, a little bit, started me thinking, and I was like, "Hang on a minute. If are we in a position to build this? Technically, if we built this product, one, it would be great for our business. Two, we could productize it, very similar to what you do. And then thirdly, we could pivot this product into an internal product for basically assessing employees within your business. And you could almost sort of, the software could, suggest where they could go next within your business, and therefore helping with the retention. It's fascinating, but I love, as an individual, I'm just fascinated by new tech, and I think that's why we operate in crypto a lot of the time. And we're not completely unique to crypto. We do fintech, anything innovative related to tech. We do. Crypto is obviously just one of those big topics at the moment that we supply into. But yeah, I think that's where the fascination comes from. I could sit there and talk all day about this stuff because all I want to do is I just want to learn, digest, and soak it all up.
No, absolutely. And I think it's really important. I mean, these kind of innovations sparking these ideas. I mean, I can really relate to that, Kai. I mean, I've got two boys who are at university at the moment. Both were later on in life diagnosed with having dyslexia.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
30. I was 30.
yeah, who
And
really,
basically,
yeah,
yeah,
wow.
I remember saying to my mum, I was like, Mum, I'm blagging this whole thing. If someone asked me to do like a presentation and things,
Yes.
I can't visually look at a presentation on a screen. My mind's all over the place.
Mm.
Well, I can't just, and if I have a script in front of me, I can't see the words. It's crazy. So what I have to do is that I basically have to put a series of bullet points and then memorize what I'm going to say around it, and then just ad lib the whole time.
Nice.
So it's just creating solutions for the problem. But and it's
Yeah, very.
interesting. So how have your boys coped with it then?
I think like you throughout their lives, and this guy that I was talking about who's building this ADHD said something that read maybe you should be tested because I'm sure you've got, and I'm sure there is. I'm not similar, but they were diagnosed with dyslexia. But like you, they've used strategies all their life to get through things, and we just thought, and you see that talent coming through, and they're very good at what they do. They've got their exams, so if they're listening or watching this, they're probably going, "Ah, please, no, don't talk about us." So we'll cut that short there. But they're getting on with it. But they've coped with it in a very schools can overlook things, but
It's
uh,
fascinating because
yeah,
um,
and it's
I would love
difficult.
to talk about this more because when Nikki Kofin is her name, I'll give her a
Yeah,
shout out.
yeah,
My
we'll put the
coach.
details in the show notes. Yeah,
Yeah, when she delved into this, and she's a psychologist, really, is what she is. We went back into my schooling past, and at age 11 or 12 or something like that, we always used to have to read out aloud. So I used to have this sort of sense of panic and anxiety around reading out loud because I knew I was bad at it. I knew I wasn't any good at it. So what I used to do is I used to walk in immediately and I would count the number that I was so in the line. So if I was like number 16, for example, I would go to the 16th paragraph and I would just read it. I'd read it like 10 times like that. So by the time it got round to me, I would just literally regurgitate this text or just blurt it out. So no one ever found out because I basically tricked the system the whole time. It was
game the
fascinating.
system.
But ultimately, in fairness, looking back now, I would have liked to have been aware that it was an issue that potentially I could have got help with. But I don't think it's just created a creative mind. Like, I'm constantly searching for information and if I don't know, for example, if a company comes up to us with a new piece of tech that we've never heard of or done something, actively go away and research it and find out what it does, how it works, and how we can best apply into that. Like it's brilliant. So yeah, referring back to what you're saying, I do actually treat it as a superpower. And when you look on our website, it says searching for superhuman, and
Yes, yes, I've noticed that.
that's basically come from you know the superpower aspect.
No, that is fascinating, and we should talk about it, and we'll talk about it again because it's an important topic, and I think that as you say, people are out there using various strategies, getting on with stuff, not realizing that there is not just help, but there are things that you can use in your day to day life that help you deal with things. The scenario you painted just now about being at school, these are things that when I've spoken to my boys, they've kind of relayed that once they've been sort of, they were like, oh, wow, it's like a penny drops. But equally, you don't want to be treated differently. You want to blend in. You don't want, it's that hardest area where at school, when you're a teenager, you want to be different, but you also want to blend in. It's that weird dichotomy of not wanting to be treated differently. But now, if you go to a lot of some of the top, top private schools, certainly around here, A, they get given extra time. B, they go allowed to use computers, laptops when doing exams, so it's easier on the eye because you can't always see letters and numbers on a page. It's very, very difficult, very challenging, and equally, there's been a big shift in understanding generally across the board thank goodness. Thanks a lot also to people like Richard Branson and I think Alan Sugar as well. There's quite a few entrepreneurs who have come from having dyslexia to where they are today. And when they share their stories, it's really quite fascinating. Especially, I've been lucky enough to meet Richard Branson in New York, of all places, a while ago. Yeah, he was quite an interesting character,
I imagine.
to say the least. But yeah, that was quite an interesting meeting of those many moons ago. So yeah, so I mean, I've just sort of moving it back a little bit to the business end. Why do you think, just talking of challenges and stuff, Kai? Why do you think that selling fintech or through SaaS to institutional markets, especially, why do you think it's so notoriously difficult? Why is it such a hard sell? Like if you're trying to sell a piece of technology or you're working with a sales team or they're hiring and say they're selling into hedge funds or asset managers or even into crypto businesses, why do you feel that's such a difficult sell?
I can only guess, really, but I would assume it's compliance led. You can't back test this stuff through years and years and years, can you? Um, also, ultimately, I think the only way that you will get a really active market in that sense is if you get highly compliant businesses regulated in domains which everyone's confident with. You get back tested product, you get institutional grade sort of security, all these things. We are seeing them. Like we have one client, for example, that's been around trading crypto for
Mm.
nearly like 10 years now, and they built institutional grade platform systems, asset management platforms, etc., that now organizations are confident, to park some cash there,
Okay.
trust that it's managed in the right way. Ultimately, there's opportunity in the volatility of the market. If you have back tested trading strategies that you can prove year on year work, even in bad markets, then you're onto a winner. I know for a fact, obviously, with tech stock has been extremely profitable for businesses. Um, when they invest in that. But crypto is now on a par with that. I think recently I saw a video just a couple of days ago that Bitcoin is officially decoupled from the S&P 500. Usually it trends in the same way, but when the S&P 500 dumped because of all the tariffs and stuff,
Yes.
Bitcoin pumped. And that was the first time in history that it's actually decoupled from that market. And that's, I think, fairly well, I think we have to keep an eye on it, see what actually happens in
Yes.
the future. But that is the first of its kind. So it's suggesting that Bitcoin is a market all by itself.
I've always thought that, anecdotally, I've always thought that, but I think if the market has, because it's unique to all the other sort of cryptocurrencies. It's like a sheer force of Bitcoin as an entity is just so powerful.
Yeah, the next wave is truly unlocking, the value locked in Bitcoin. The problem with it is that the Bitcoin narrative is it's not very exciting for investors. I don't think they see it as but ultimately there are individuals out there with billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin just sitting there.
Absolutely.
The way is, how do we get that liquidity into the system without risking their Bitcoin? Without having some risky wrapped type solution for them where ultimately they're kind of giving away their Bitcoin to do some sort of leverage or DeFi type activity. Bitcoiners don't want that. Bitcoiners want to retain custody of their Bitcoin at
Yes.
all times. So that's the big conundrum. How do we do that? How do we do that? And someone has to, there are products out there that are starting to be developed, but the investment in these products are limiting or limited at the moment. Maybe it'll
Interesting.
take a couple more years. I don't know. But that liquidity, once that liquidity flows into the system, then
Yes.
no stopping it.
Absolutely fascinating. Well, time will tell. And we are living in strange times, so who knows how quickly that will come. So going on the recruitment side of things, and when you're looking at talent, what do you look for when you're, say, a company is looking for an effective business development or salesperson to sell into financial markets, maybe not just cryptocurrency, but selling technology on a broader base into either financial markets or selling it into other B2B buyers? What kind of other specific traits that you look for over and above their CV and experience? I mean, when you're doing a sort of human to human interview and they've gone through the higher view kind of process, maybe that
Yeah,
some of the big banks use.
you, yeah, it's really interesting. Ultimately, CVs only tell one story, I think. A lot of credibility comes with how long you've been within a certain project. How involved were you at an early stage? How involved were you at building the initial relationships? A lot of organizations really want, let's take an American organization, like a lending or borrowing sort of protocol. They really want like the Wall Street type person, because they want to unlock a lot of that, wealth, ultimately, and bring them into the sort of DeFi space. But I don't think my experience suggests that that doesn't work, right? Because they're too corporate. The
Mm.
thing about crypto is it is really it's a relationships game, and you have to find someone that is extremely infused by the market and wants to just get to know everyone constantly. So if I was going out looking for like a business developer for a new project, for example, I would really be looking at their network, looking at their certain things like content that they're producing on X, following, have they got a black book? Like some of these venture guys that I meet, some of the contacts that they have is just outrageous. Like it's just, and
Yeah.
their Telegram is just like full of all these contacts, but you can see the way they're interacting with them, constantly searching. Traditional BD people won't do that. They'll need a system. They'll need a machine behind them in order to work. So I think that's the question you have to ask the client. How much are you prepared to invest in the machine behind the person? Because ultimately, no one can just sit in a seat and expect to develop business successfully without any kind of strategy behind them. Or if there is no external system or any marketing or etc. to help this person, then what does the black book look like? How connected are they? How long have they been in sector? You know, what could they bring me? That kind of thing. It's very difficult to find the right person. Ultimately, a lot of these projects are built on the community that they have. So it's really about building the community and then leveraging that, and then leveraging on uh, the narrative of what they're trying to produce.
Absolutely. I'm hearing that a lot, actually. It's a combination of things. Yeah, as you say, CV tells one part of the story. People are looking at what have these people been posting? What's their black book like? What's the size of their network? Not just on LinkedIn, but beyond a whole variety of other sort of areas. It really is quite fascinating. Finding good salespeople is very, very difficult because the fundamentals, core of sales has changed so much. But people have not the core that's changed, the fluff around it has changed quite a bit. But also very much buyers are very much in control. And it goes back to the organization, this machine that you talk about that sits behind the BD person. Even we talk about perception. There's a lot of perception around, oh my goodness, this person was at BlackRock and JP Morgan and was the head of such and such, selling their tech systems. Um, they're going to be fantastic for our startup and I'm going to take it to the moon. Well, the reality is somewhat different, irrespective of what you.
Totally agree. Totally agree. It's really interesting. I was speaking to, they call it growth in crypto. It's all growth. But speaking to the head of growth of one of these major, top 20 projects, for example, and just, interrogated slightly about what his day to day looks like. Basically, he's just like replying to inbound inquiries the whole time, getting paid a huge amount of money just to, reply to inbound. I was like, it's not really a sales role, is it? It's an admin role. It's
Yeah,
absolutely right. So if you're a smaller business looking to grow, that's definitely not the skill. It's definitely not the individual you want to attract.
very much so. But I think we're finding that some you need a layer. You need those young hungry, the SDR type thing. People are talking about how AI and AI avatars are suddenly taking over things. Some of them are frighteningly realistic, both audio and visual, and they're efficient. But I think depending on the type of business you're in, we're seeing a huge shift towards that in terms of what's actually happening. But as we said right at the beginning, a lot of this is down to management and board level. It's about devising a strategy right at the off. Some people just have a sales only approach. Just let's hire loads of salespeople. Well, what about the product? What about the marketing? What about actually getting your value proposition right? What about some of the lower end, those lead magnets that get people going in the first place? You cannot rely purely on, we talked about the BlackRock and JP Morgan guys. You can't just purely rely, though it's important, on the contacts that you have, because there's new contacts coming in all the time. I think something like maybe over 50% of B2B buyers are under the age of 40. So if you're an older guy who's been around the Wall Street, City of London, done the Frankfurt sort of, stuff, you're not going to know half these people. And they're the people making decisions on what technology they're going to buy or who they're going to go with for their institution, be it financial institution or wherever. Or they're certainly part of the process. So it's fascinating to see how you need that multi-layered approach. And content is one really, really good area, and how you position that. So Kai, listen, we're going to have to wrap up because we've inadvertently gone way over our allocated 30 minutes talking about this, that, and the other. And to all of those people who are listening and watching this, I hope you enjoy. We're going to sort of break it down into a few segments, and we'll give you some stuff in the show notes as well. But we are definitely going to come back and talk about some of the topics we only just scratched the surface on. And I'd love to drill a lot deeper into some of those. And next time we're going to be looking at more about some of the blockchain market trends, and also talking about business development in Web3, Fintech, and also go to market and various other areas. So consider this part 2 as a reintroduction, and we'll do another one closer to, and we won't leave it so long next time, Kai, and we'll do another version. It's been fantastic having you on. I could talk to you for hours on end. It would be even better over a pint at some point.
I'll be heading back to the UK in June, so
Okay, fantastic.
maybe
We will.
I'll stop in at Guildford on the way back.
Will you tell me where you are if you're in town or whatever? I'm in London 3 days a week, so not always in sunny Surrey. So let me know, and we will pick up on that in June, and maybe do a face to face in a studio. Let's think about doing that. So that's great. Kai, as always, absolutely fantastic. Once again, you can get hold of Kai on LinkedIn and at his website. If you do you want to give
Yeah,
the URL again?
yeah, Austin Werner.
Kai, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay cool in that 42-degree heat. Yeah, it's been lovely chatting to you, and speak to you again soon. All the
All
best.
right,
Take care.
Reggie.
See ya.
Thanks a lot, mate. Bye bye.
Bye.